Hello, Miss Butler's class. This is Lesson 27, Session 2, Develop Making a Line Plot. So we are still working with line plots, and we need to remember that our line plots may show a certain fraction, but maybe we might get a plot to point that is a unit fraction. So for example, 1/2 is a unit fraction, but on the graph it might want you to plot 4/8. So we are going to practice some fluency problems, and we're going to look at fractions, and we're going to say what is the equivalent unit fraction or the smallest simplified fraction. So, for example, we have 4/8. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and you are going to tell me the answer. So 4/8 is the same thing as what? 3, 2, 1, 1/2. 2/8 is the same thing as what? 3, 2, 1, 1/4. And 6/8 is the same thing as what? 3, 2, 1, 3/4. And 8/8 is the same thing as what? 1/2. Okay, so these are our equivalent fractions that we may run into as we are plotting points. So now we're going to get some practice of actually plotting those points on a graph. So our question is, for our start problem, is what is the greatest value in the list of data below? How many x's would a line plot show for the value? So the greatest value in the list that could possibly be shown could be 3/4 or maybe 4/8 or even maybe 1/2. But we need to go figure out our equivalents before we make that decision. So I went ahead and wrote all of my parts into eighths because my smallest unit is an eighth. So I wrote everything as 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, and so on. So now we are going to plot our points. 3/4 could be on this line, but I don't have any fourths on my line. So I got to make this fourth an eighth. So the way that I do that is I'm going to take 4 times 2. And that's going to become 8, and 3 times 2, because whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. It's going to become a 6. So that is 6/8. And I have 6/8 on my graph. So I will mark 6/8 on my line graph. So 6/8 is right here. I have 1/2, but again, that is not on my chart. So again, I'll make that equivalent fraction. So 1/2 times 4 is 8. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So 1 times 4 is 4, so that would be 4/8. I'll write 4/8 down here. All right, so now that I have 4/8, I can mark that on my line graph. So 5/8 is on my line graph, so I can just mark that there. So I'm done with that. I'll go ahead and circle it so I can keep track. I have 3/4 here, and it's not on my line graph, but I had already did the work earlier, and I left it here so I can remember that 3/4 is the same thing as 6/8. So I'm going to write an x over 6/8. So notice I have 2 3/4, and I'm going to put an x twice because I have 2 of those. Okay. Now I have 4/8, and 4/8 is on my graph, so I'm going to put it right here. And just a reminder, 4/8 was the same thing as 1/2. And speaking of that, 1/2 is my next fraction right here. And I had already written previously that 4/8 was the same thing as 1/2. So now if I look at my chart, I can see the greatest value of the list is actually 6/8 because that's the one that goes furthest this way. And I can also see how many x's would be for each value. So for 1/8, 2/8, and 3/8, there are no x values for that one. But 4/8 has 3 x's, 5/8 has 1 x, and 6/8 has 2 x's. 7/8 and 8/8 have no x's. All right, now we're going to go ahead and go to our try it problem. And remember, the try it problems, you try by yourself, and then I'll show you how we work it out. So go to page 557 in your big math book. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read you the problem, and then I'm going to help us kind of problem solve how we're going to create this line plot. So Kiara bought 12 different types of stickers to decorate her scrapbook. She measured the width in inches of each type of sticker and wrote down the results. Make a line plot to organize and display Kiara's data. So Kiara is measuring some stickers, and she's measuring those in inches, and she wrote the width of each of these stickers right here. So I'm going to highlight those for you. So again, you want to look what is your smallest unit. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight. I see some fourths, but I saw that I highlighted an eighth here. So again, I would go take a line plot and write those in eighths. So for example, you have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, and continue on till you get to 1 whole or 8/8. After you figure out what the equivalents are for those, then you can go ahead and plot your points on there to make sure that they are correct. So I'll go ahead and give you some time to work out this problem, and then I will show you how to work it out. All right, Miss Butler is back. So you can make a line plot on your paper. And like I said, you should write it out in eighths because that is your smallest unit. We have an eighth right here, an eighth right here, and an eighth right here. So I'm going to start with 1/8. And before I start plotting any points, I'm going to make sure I write all of my data points first. And then 2/8. And then 3/8. And then 4/8. And then 5/8. Oh, that's supposed to be an 8, sorry. 6/8, 5/8 and 6/8. 6/8. And I need to make this just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to erase this a little bit. And 7/8. And 8/8. Okay. So now that I have all my 8s on here, now I can start plotting. So I'm going to plot all my 8s first to get those out the way. So my first 8 is 1/8, so I'm going to put 1/8 right here. And I'm going to cross it out so I don't forget, think about doing it again. 3/8 is on here, so I'll do 3/8 and put an X right here. And cross that out. And I have 5/8, and I have 5/8 on here, so I'm going to put it on top. And I'm going to cross it out. And you just kind of keep up with that same routine. So earlier we had worked on our halves, for example. And I know 1/2 was equal to 4/8 because if I did 2 times 4, that would give me an 8. And whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 1 times 4 was 4/8. So put my 4/8 right there. So I have 1/2 right here, so I'm going to cross that out. I have another half right here, so I'm going to put another X. I have another half right here, so I'm going to put another X. And I believe that's all my halves. And now I see I have 1 whole over here. So I'm going to mark my 1 whole. So 8/8 is the same thing as 1 whole. So I'm going to put an X here. And I'm going to put an X here. Okay. So we're done with my 1 wholes. Now I just have 1/4 and 3/4. So I know I'm making them into 8. So 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever I do to the bottom, I gotta do to the top. So 1 times 2 is 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. So 2/8. So anytime I see a 1/4 now, I know that should be 2/8. So I'm going to put an X over 2/8. All right, now I have 3/4. And again, those are not written in 8s, but I know that 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So 3 times 2 is 6. So 3/4 is the same thing as 6/8. So I'm going to put an X there. And I'm going to take out that X so I don't get confused. And we have 3/4 right here. And that was also 6/8. So now I'm going to count all my x's to make sure I have 12, because if I don't have 12, that means I missed something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, now that I have all 12, the goal of this assignment was to just make a line plot and organize the display. So I made a line plot and I organized her display. So now I can see what is the smallest sticker and what are the largest stickers. And the larger stickers are moving towards the right, while the smallest stickers are moving towards the left. All right, now we are on question number 8. So for question number 8, I want you to try and record the length of several bugs on the line plot. So for example, I have 1 and 5/8. If this is written in 8, I can actually make each individual plot right here into 8s. So this would be 1/8, so 1 whole and 1/8, 1 whole and 2/8, 1 whole and 3/8, 1 whole and 4/8, 1 whole and 5/8. So my 1 whole and 5/8 should go here. And then I have 3 wholes and 1/4, and I know 1/4 is equivalent to 2/8. So I'm going to put my 2/8 right here to X. And you can continue making the line so you have enough 8s, but because I'm trying to rush the video a little bit, please make sure you finish the rest of your X's. So I have 1 and 3/4, and I know 1 and 3/4 is the same thing as 6/8. So I'm going to put my X on top of here for my 6/8. And then I'm going to add my last line. So I have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8. And then 1 whole and 8/8 is the same thing as 2 wholes. So now I have all 8 of my lines. All right. Now we have 2 wholes and 7/8. So again, I have to draw all those lines. But I do know just by looking at this line that my 7/8 would be all the way over here somewhere. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 would be here, 7/8. All right, go ahead and continue writing out your line plots. And when you're finished, you may get on iReady.